Welcome to the Bad Movie Night podcast, covering the worst movies you've never seen. We hope you enjoy listening to Bad Movie Night podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bad Movie Night podcast. My name is Chris, and tonight we have checked out the 2024 thriller, The Front Room.
Being cooped up with a newborn and a mother-in-law can drive anyone crazy.
Help me, Belinda.
My name is Belinda. Belinda.
Help me, Belinda.
Oh, we're gonna get into it tonight. This is a movie, and I'll just say I had no idea. I didn't even watch anything. Lindsay, you posted that image. It had Brandy. I'm like, I like Brandy.
And I tried to be like, this might be a little much. But
I had no idea what I was getting into, but there is a lot to discuss.
There's a lot to discuss.
The first topic of discussion, I think, is that we are back.
Yes.
Look
at us go.
Look at us go. Look at us go. We just got Lindsay, Rebecca, and Chris on tonight. Aaron is aware that we're doing the show,
yes.
But he was already going to be away.
Yes,
Did he actually
days
record?
ago.
He said he was going to record his feedback. Did he do that?
That's called. What's it called when you tell somebody you're going to do something, but you don't actually ever intend to do it? That's what it's called. That's what he did. And I knew that was never going to happen, but sure. Yeah. So I doubt he watched it, but he at least told us he couldn't be on the show.
Yes,
AJ
he gave
and
an excuse ahead of time.
AJ and Spiv, I thought were going to be here tonight, but it turns out that I guess not. So we'll see what happens next week.
More lying.
We are back. We have an established time that works for, the people that show up, so that's good. And we're going to continue on with this thing.
Yeah.
And so if you're out there and you were hanging out, we got a bunch of messages from people saying, hey, we miss you. When's the next show? That's really cool. We're going to talk about some of that in the listener feedback section, but that means a lot that people out there actually listen to us and have listened to us for a long time. So thank you. Mm-hmm. So no AJ tonight to do the premise whole section. Would anyone like to take a shot at giving me the premise for the front room?
I'll try.
All right, Lindsay, go ahead.
The Front Room is about a married couple who are going through some stuff. They're not doing too hot right now.
I just want a baby.
And they find out that the husband's stepmother has this deal. You let me move in and live out the rest of my days, and you can have all the money. All the money. They don't say how much money, but it's obviously a lot of money.
There was a lot of zeros in whatever number
Lindsay,
she wrote down there.
It's got to be a shitload
It's got to be
of money.
so much money for them.
She's got a whole mess of money.
Whole mess. E-double-S. Mess o' money. And then they kind of have some remorse after letting her move in because stuff happened. Slight remorse. Second thoughts.
That was good. That actually was that was a good premise. You intrigued people because if you said that the movie is about an old lady who just constantly shits herself in a house,
I don't think
Brandy,
people would have as much. Some people might have.
Some people would be like,
there's some people that are in.
You would think Spiv would be all over that. You'd think Spiv would be here right now, but he's not.
Watching it for the fourth time in a row right now.
He just couldn't peel himself away from it. Yeah. That was good. I think what we should talk about here is notably the directors of the film. Do you know who they are, Lindsay?
Well, one is the guy who did The Witch.
Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers. Not him. It's not him. No. It is not him.
It's his brothers, Max and Sam.
It's his brothers. Yes. One of them helped write The Lighthouse, I think, or at least one of Zach Gregor's movies. But the other one, no. had nothing to do with it.
Okay, yeah. So this is Max and Sam Eggers. This is their directorial debut. The movie is based on The Front Room by Susan Hill, which I guess is a short story. Obviously, never read that. But also, when I turned this movie on, I was really shocked to see the A24 logo pop up.
Well,
because
that was Stefan's too. He was like, "What?"
It was a little more Blumhouse than A24.
It was a little more, yeah. And but when you had recommended the movie, I assumed it based on the cover art. I was like, this looks like a Lifetime original-esque thing,
Kind of, yeah.
But then when I turned it on and I saw the A24 logo, I was like, what the fuck, Lindsay? What are we doing here? But yeah, all right. So Brandy's in the film. It also stars Catherine Hunter, Andrew Burnap. Catherine Hunter, I've seen her before in things. I was familiar
Is that the
with her name,
grandmother?
that's
Or
the
the
grandmother.
stepmother?
Yes. You might know her from the 2024 Francis Ford Coppola movie, Megalopolis.
Oh, God.
Did you watch that, Lindsay?
No, I haven't watched it yet. I need to.
I turned it on for like 15 minutes. I was like, I'm not. I got to get on something to watch.
Can't do it.
Like, I really appreciate. I appreciate someone spending $100 million of their own money to make their vision come to life. But
I've seen clips and I was shocked.
yeah. So she was also in Poor Things, which was I really like that movie.
Oh, the Emma Stone.
Yeah. So notably though, Brandy was on a hiatus and she came back. This was her first movie back from a long
What
time.
a comeback.
Right.
And I don't even know what I know Brandy from, but I know Brandy. Is she
Don't worry. We're going to do a whole quiz diving into Brandy.
She was a pop star and then she accidentally killed someone.
What? She killed someone?
And she hit someone with her car or something like that. That's what killed her career. She went into like hiding after that. She killed someone with her car.
Well, what's his face?
But that was like 20 years ago, I think.
Who hasn't killed someone 20 years ago, Lindsay, with their car?
But I'm just saying it wasn't
In the research, it
recent.
said she had a mental breakdown in 1999. So
That was probably from
I'm
that.
going to guess when that
Probably
was.
from the murder she accidentally did. What's like Ferris Bueller? He killed someone with his car. He never slowed down.
No, it didn't seem to bother him
It
very
didn't
much.
phase him one bit. Brandy though, she was affected. OJ, that's why OJ kept hanging on. He thought maybe he had to come back. You just wait long enough, kill one or two people 30 years ago. You're good to come back after that much time, right?
They are bringing back the Naked Gun movies, but too late.
Yeah. How are they going to bring back without Leslie Nielsen?
They're doing Liam Neeson.
That actually might work.
They might work. It might work.
All right, so let's play the bumper of. We're not going to do a history hole. We'll just do the new bumper, and then we'll talk about the movie because we don't need a history hole right now. We'll wait for Aaron.
It was last year. We know what happened.
That's so last year.
Yeah.
Aaron's going to come back with a whole new section, probably. Although it's probably a lie, like everything else that he says to us. But we'll play the bumper. Then we're going to dive into just getting into the front room. So here we go.
Patreon, $2 a month. Patreon. 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 $2 a month. Patreon. Join our first.
That voice you possibly just heard was former member of the show, AJ, who apparently doesn't show up for the show anymore. And also, I feel like during that bumper, there's probably like some sort of subliminal messaging happening or something.
If you play it backwards, it'll summon some demon.
Yeah, probably. So, the front room. Lindsay, this was your recommendation. What did you think of the front room?
I didn't 100% recommend it. I just said, hey, I'm watching this crazy movie right now. And you're like,
Yeah,
let's
but
put,
the way you
let's
talked
do
about
that one.
You said this one is bananas. It might be
It
too
is-
bad for the pod, LOL. So, of course, I wanted to watch it.
That's
Well, yeah, true.
pretty much a recommendation.
No, I watched this last week for the first time because I remember seeing trailers for it. And I'm like, that looks fucking ridiculous. And it is ridiculous, but it has some like actual concepts going on within it that are interesting. but it's so off the walls crazy. It's hard to take it seriously at all. But it's a ride, that's for sure.
So you were aware of this movie from a trailer? Because I never even heard of this thing.
Yeah, I remember seeing the trailer like back when it first came out, and I'm like, that looks really stupid.
When I was cutting the trailer piece for the episode, I just pulled like the last 7 seconds or whatever. I never even watched it. So I didn't know how they advertised this thing, if they advertised it as a horror movie.
Kind of. I don't know. It was mostly just like she's got this crazy religious mother-in-law that moves in while they're, so they can get the money.
Gotcha. Okay. Rebecca, what did you think?
It was definitely interesting. Like it wasn't boring at any moment. Lots that I wasn't expecting. Some not so great acting. Like the husband character was just like, ugh, the entire time. But I thought Brandy held her own and did a fairly decent job at this interesting story.
The husband character reminded me of Fisher Stevens.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Sort of. And I don't know what ever happened to him because he was always really good. Yeah, this was entertaining. I will say that as a blanket statement. But what a ride of a film, going into it completely blank, turning it on, seeing the A24 logo, but also seeing that Lindsay said that this might be too bad for the podcast, or how ridiculous it was. It's like, I was like, oh, this is going to be too good. And in some ways, I think it is, insofar as like the production values are honestly very
incredible,
good.
Yes.
And there's some really clever shots. There's a sequence where Brandy's talking to like a preacher guy or something. I forget who he was. And it like zooms past them into this mirror. It just looks really cool. There's a bunch of creative camera movements and stuff like that. Pretty top-notch production values. But it's really small-scale movie, so I'm guessing it was a couple $1 million. So like, there's no reason it shouldn't look great. But I like the look of the film. And I like Brandy, even though I thought her performance was fine. I think the old lady, what's her name? Shivargi? What's her name?
Solange. She was incredible.
She was incredible. She was annoying as fuck, because she's at times like and this movie actually is kind of comparable to it in some ways, The Babadook, if you've ever seen that movie.
Yeah.
There's a kid in that movie who is so goddamn annoying on purpose, and this old lady is like the opposite. She's so annoying, but she's old. But I just couldn't make heads or tails of what these directors' vision was for this thing, because at times it's straight up psychological horror film, shot like one. There's sequences that act like one. It's slow burn. I'm like, all right. And then a second later, an old lady farts, and it's like the lowest brow comedy you can get.
Yeah.
And the juxtaposition there, I was like, what am I supposed to take from this film?
There's a lot of mixed messaging, because like there's one element where it looks like they're playing up almost a supernatural thing happening. 100%. It's like, oh, that's where this movie's going. And then on the other hand, you kind of get this like mirror image of what it's like to raise have a baby in the house. Yep. But it's an old lady, because they do things, she's messing herself. She's throwing food. She's demanding. They try the cry out method with her. So, I mean, there's like a few different concepts going on at the same time. And I think if they would have just picked one, it would have been a lot clearer.
Yeah. Even so, the themes of the film, there's many, and it's never quite clear. And then also tonally, it's all over the place.
Oh yeah.
And so when it ended, I think the problem, like a lot of that stuff undermines other elements of the film, where like, I don't know.
Well, even when they open the film, we see she's like a professor. That's her job. She's very pregnant, and she's a professor, and she teaches anthropology. So she's talking about mythology and mythological figures and different religions. In the house, she's got like goddess
Yep.
statues and figurines from different religions and things like that. Whereas Solange, the mother-in-law, is very, very Christian, Southern Baptist, uber Christian, speaking in tongues, laying of hands.
Well, they said
all
she's
that kind of stuff.
Possessed by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. And in that first scene where we see Brandy lecturing, she's talking about symbols and like how a chair can take on some kind of personification and stuff.
Yeah.
The chair was labeled after Isis, and that's why there's a back and an arms and legs, because it's after the goddess from Egypt.
And then they talk about not the stepmom, but the husband's mother's chair being in the nursery. That's like a thing that they try to connect all these dots, but then it just like goes away. Yeah. And then it comes back at the end, but there's no connecting thing in the middle. It gets a little muddy.
Yeah, maybe it's a little too ambiguous. I did, and I'll read it then later, but I did read a theory about the film that paints it in a different picture, but I would also have to like go back and watch the film to see if that's actually a legitimate theory. But yeah, so the basic setup there, then, we kind of already said it, but we can go through it at the beginning. Brandy is a professor. Her husband is a lawyer.
Public defender,
Public defender. It's revealed fairly early on in the film that they had a previous child who died early on. I don't know exactly how old he was.
Stillborn.
Was that it was? Okay. I thought he was like, all right. So she's also facing kind of issues at her job. Now, what was the problem there? Was it that she was pregnant, or was it
No, she
was it racially
isn't a fully tenured professor. So they're like moving in a different direction, because if you're not tenured, you don't have any kind of permanency. Okay. You can just kind of be phased out anytime that they want to. So she's not an adjunct anymore, which is kind of like, I don't know, like almost like a substitute where you just kind of fill in where they need you. But she's not a fully tenured professor either, where she's guaranteed to have classes.
She's being pushed out. She's being pushed out.
So were they implying, though, that it was like there was racism involved?
I think racism and sexism, kind of.
And that's like another part of this film where it's like there's these elements where the old lady's very racist and says racist things. Yeah,
because she has the Daughters of the Confederacy certificate.
Yeah. I guess you get a certificate for that.
Well, I bet Elon Musk has one of those. Yeah. So immediately when that stuff started happening, I was like, all right, so this is kind of, I don't know, that's at least an important element to this storyline. And when it's all said and done, I don't know if the racism element really was.
There was nothing to it.
And that's the problem. Like, I think that's the main problem I have with the film is like, in a vacuum, all of these elements are interesting and could be explored well. However, they just throw all of them in, and then like you pull nothing, one through line through it all.
I mean, if the only one that I can see that maybe is what they were going for, because like things just descend into chaos in this house because Brandy's home alone. She's pregnant and then she has the baby and she's trying to raise the baby and the baby's not, she's going through all these things that a new mother goes through while also trying to take care of this dying woman who's incontinent and blowing a whistle and very needy and very loud and annoying, doing things on purpose.
Right, like over the top needy. Beyond what she actually needs.
Yeah, and there was kind of a moment at the beginning where they were coming together, and
so that's I thought like the first half of the film, it was like Brandy was defending this old lady.
She's the one that talked her husband into the whole thing. She's like, no, we need the money and all this stuff.
Yeah, she was definitely blinded by the money there, and
but
she didn't really know, because she didn't even know like his family stuff until his dad died.
Yeah.
Like, that's what
Right.
starts all, like, where the stepmom comes in. He kind of like, oh, by the way, my stepmother's crazy. This is how she treated me. Let's go meet her.
But it was weird because Brandy is the obvious protagonist of the film. And then we're watching it, and like this old lady's definitely the main conflict, but like the whole time our protagonist is like, oh, there's no, she's like good, like she's supporting her. So it felt weird. I wasn't quite sure. It was confusing, I guess.
Yeah. And because like they've established like a trust kind of thing, and then Brandy ruins it by, for some reason, she decides to bring up at dinner that she's incontinent.
Perfect time.
Yeah.
Perfect
about that.
time to do this. You couldn't like tell your husband like off in secret,
to the side.
like, hey, this is going on, but your mom's really embarrassed about it. Maybe you just so you know this is what's happening. So that's where the trust breaks. And what I can kind of see a through line being that once the old lady like becomes a problem, that Brandy starts looking for everything wrong. You know what I mean? That really what we're looking at is this situation from her point of view where, you know, she's having these weird nightmares and she's sleepwalking and stuff. And really, I mean, if you think about it, the stepmom, yeah, she's domineering. She puts her nose in where she probably shouldn't, but she really didn't do anything like to warrant vicious. I mean, you know, it's like she's an old lady and she's dying, and things come along with caring for someone in that state, you know. And really, Randy's kind of the bad person in this movie.
Well,
At the end of the
perfect
day,
storm for Brandy too. Like, she has a new baby. That there's definitely something going on with the stepmom and the baby, like some sort of control thing there.
Yeah.
Like the whole fish necklace.
Yeah.
That's where they hint at like
baby.
supernatural element of
Yeah.
in some ways. Yeah.
But and also when she comes home from the hospital after having the baby, her and the prayer group lay their hands on
Let me
on
show
her,
that.
and
I have that scene.
It
yeah.
heals the scar.
That is a weird ass scene. Let's check it out.
But doesn't that scene prove that the stepmom, what she's saying, is real? That she has these powers? That she is filled with the Holy Spirit?
Later on, the incision is healed.
Gone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's too much going on at the same time, but there are these little flashes of like there is something more going on in this movie. It's just hard to pick apart the other things that are in the way.
And that stuff I kind of liked. Like I remember a scene early on in the film where I think it was right after Brandy was like, I quit at the college. And she walks out to her car, and her car is missing a hubcap. And I was like, okay, is that supposed to imply like, oh, they're kind of down on their luck with money or something like that? Because it's obviously intentional. You don't just get a car without a missing hubcap. There's they use the baby heartbeat, like when you do a whatever that called
ultrasound.
Yeah.
I like that where they use that sound effect to ratchet the tension, where it's like, and it keeps going faster and faster. Stuff like that was really clever. But there was a moment, Rebecca, when Brandy was teaching her class at the beginning, and I was like, is this what it is like? Because they pan
when no
across
one responded.
Everyone was like so dead. They all had this dead eye look to them. And I was like, is this what it's like to teach?
This is what teaching is like.
Because she was like super charismatic.
Not in
and
my
excited.
classroom.
But
They're hanging on my every word.
But your kids are you're young kids. These were like college kids at that point. I guess they were just done.
They couldn't be bothered with their anthropology class. It's probably an 8 a.m. class. They're still hungover from the night before. Sixth graders don't tend to have that problem.
Not yet. Speaking in tongues is that like what is that?
It's the Holy Spirit like filling you and you're speaking the language.
Yeah.
Is what
But
it's
that's
supposed
not
something
real,
like that.
right? Like
People do it.
People do it.
Yeah.
But they're lying, right?
There's
They're
a
pulling in
documentary
an
on
error.
Netflix called Jesus Camp, and it's kids, and they speak in
I've seen
tongues,
that, yeah.
and that is terrifying.
let's talk about the first scene where shit starts to really happen. Let me just show it.
Literally. There's so much bodily fluids in this movie. There's puke and spit and poop and pee
when
and
she
everything
coughs
else.
up whatever that,
And it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And just puts it in her purse.
puts it in her purse.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
It's like almost like I don't know if it's played for comedy sometimes. I mean,
I feel like it
definitely
is.
is.
It's so over the top.
Honestly, though, it's like that's what a baby does too. Is it gross just because it's an old lady doing it?
Well, there's so much more with an old lady than a little tiny baby.
She's talking to you. She's saying some wild shit in this movie.
Oh, she's super manipulative.
Some of those times she is, I don't think incontinent. I think it is
doing
a
it
power move.
There is a scene, which I have, and I'll show it here in a second, where it shows that like she's using a lot of manipulation tactics.
Mm-hmm.
And she can walk, and then she gets
can walk.
caught, and she's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
oh
that's
my
why I'm
gosh.
gonna. I'll show it. That's like when we told Spiv to show up for the show tonight.
Well, it's the same thing too. Like he goes to carry her upstairs, and she gives Brandy a look
Like-
when he's doing it, like in the midst of her meltdown.
It had to be a lot of fun to play this role. Just she's
Oh,
like
God.
throwing food and
When she's
falling
in
on the floor.
bathtub.
Oh my god!
When she was in the bathtub, I should have pulled that scene. But was that like CGI or what did they do?
I don't know
was
what
weird,
that
right?
was.
It could have been a bodysuit. I don't know.
Because I looked up the actress, I was like, how old is this lady? And she was only like 60, like early 60s. So I was like, she does not going to look that frail. I didn't think.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if they like superimposed her face on a different model or what it was. It seemed off though.
I think it was a bodysuit, but I
It was a
could be
bodysuit.
wrong.
Okay. So the scene that the movie really went off the rails for me was like this incredible buildup and was very much deflated by something. I'm just going to play the scene.
I know what you're gonna play.
And I think it's important, like, before this happens, it's like, you feel, I felt bad for Solange, like, when, like, I knew she was, like, a kooky lady, and maybe over the top with her religiousness, and maybe even supernatural in that way, but, like, the incontinence and stuff, it felt like, oh, shit, she's just like, this is what happens to old people. Mm-hmm. Then this scene happens, and that's where I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm watching.
Belinda. Belinda.
It's an Eggers film. There's got to be a fart.
There's gotta be a fart.
It sounded wet.
Good push.
Ugh.
But yeah, it's like what was the purpose? Because it's comedic timing and the way they shot it. It's just like, yeah.
Because that scene went on before then. It built up to that.
Yeah,
and
there
like,
was a
she
lot
gets,
of
Very much
tension.
so.
There was.
Yeah, because that's the first dinner scene after, because the stepmom Solange has like paid to furnish the whole house. She paid off the mortgage, so she's like really getting her claws into these people. Like, look how much I'm doing for you. And now she's sitting at the head of the dinner table instead of Brandy, and she's making the food instead of Brandy. So it's like this huge power play in this scene.
Yeah, she uses, I don't know, is it like, she uses religious stuff as like, she weaponizes it in some ways.
Yeah.
She like forces them to rename their intended name for their new child. She's just using all these manipulation tactics. And then the babies come. The two Are they twins or something like that?
There's just one baby
I
first.
thought it was two.
First, yeah.
At the end, she's pregnant with twins.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
So she has the baby, and that's where. Was there a scene where like the two of them like came together or something? Am I making that up? I thought there was a scene where like they like merged or something. And I was like, oh, is she taking over? Or some moment where I was like, oh, is Solange taking over Brandy, or is she taking over the baby?
There's
like
a part where she
paranormal
has
sense?
that nightmare or that vision that that Solange is like breastfeeding the child with six
Yes.
breasts and
Okay,
stuff,
yes,
and dressed
yes.
as the Virgin Mary or
Well, and then
Okay.
there's a time that she's breastfeeding the
the son.
husband,
yeah.
the husband,
yes.
yeah.
Which was her son.
Her stepson.
Hell does all that mean?
There's so much stuff, and also like that dinner where that scene was where she farts at her. She served a rampion salad where rampion was what was stolen from the witch's garden, and then the family promised the witch something, and so the witch took the kid, and the baby turned into Rapunzel. So that's like another. It's like, why are we putting hats on hats here?
Yeah, so
We're putting hats on hats.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean at
Yeah,
the end of
but I'm
the
like-
day.
It's just in there.
I mean, it's come to be revealed at one point where the baby. I thought there was twins. I don't know why I thought there was two, but the
Twins were at the she was pregnant with twins
I
at
guess
the
that
end
makes
of
sense
them.
because she was only carrying the one baby, and the one baby had like a bite mark.
Yes.
And the husband
Yes.
thought that like Brandy had done something, and it was revealed. Well, if you look at the bite mark, it's missing teeth, just like Solange. So it all kind of came to a head where Solange is then put into bed, and she's just screaming, "Why can't I die?" Mm-hmm. Which, whew, that
Asked and answered.
I'll play it. That goes on though for so long. Mm-hmm. Like it's
So long.
it's so irritating. I mean, sad, but also irritating. But that comes down to the end where it's finally revealed that, and I don't even know if this is actually what happened, but what we are shown is that Brandy comes down the stairs in the morning with the baby and looks in Solange's room, and she's dead, like she died overnight.
Yep.
And then later on, it's revealed that a scene in which Brandy is, and this is obviously a spoiler, suffocating her with a pillow.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ends
And
with like
she has
Brandy
no
being
regrets.
no remorse,
Nope.
super happy about it.
None.
So that's where this theory that I read on the internet comes into play. I'll read
Okay.
it now, and we can see if we think it has any actual
I can't wait.
work to this film. I've heard it. All right, oh my god. All right, here we go. I've heard is that the old woman doesn't really exist. She's actually the baby, and the main character is experiencing a psychological break due to postpartum depression. It darkens the ending tremendously. So if you replace Solange as instead of Solange, it's the new baby. Mm-hmm. I mean, that does line up in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with a lot of the themes that we talked about, it does.
But I'd have to go back because there's so many other things that, like, I don't know.
But there's so many other people involved,
Right.
you know?
Right.
It
Like
just...
the prayer group and the pastor and the where do they fit into that metaphor?
Yeah, it's like I agree that it's symbolically probably the baby or whatever, but it isn't like actually. Like she's
No.
seeing all this stuff in her head. I don't think
Yeah.
it's like a big hallucination on her part.
No, I mean, there's obviously parallels in, like, when you have a baby, you are kind of trapped
Yeah.
with taking care of this life and all that kind of thing. It's the same as an old lady like this. I don't know.
And because even the husband and wife relationship is like he's never there, you know, he's diving more into his work, and so she feels even more isolated at home with all this going on. And
Yeah.
so I mean there's a lot of those themes. But I still think Brandy's kind of a bad person beyond even just being a murderer. Because like the biggest one is like Solange like redecorates and stuff and puts the husband's dad's ashes on the mantle. And for some reason, Brandy has a huge problem with this. Like at the end, she's throwing out like his dad's ashes and fantasizes about running them over with a car. It's like, why do you have such an issue with just this guy's dad's ashes.
Like she never even met him.
Yeah, I'm like, why is that such an issue for you? It really pissed her off.
Yeah,
I think you're just a bad person, maybe.
All right. Is there anything else with the front room? Well, why is it called the front room? Because that was where the baby's room was.
Well, that's where she was.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Like, the front room was where Solange was put, but it was initially a nursery.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also, I guess they didn't want the baby in the same room that the other baby was supposed to be in. But
yeah.
But it's also weird to have your baby downstairs when you're upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, that didn't make any sense, but... All right, Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
Would you recommend?
Yeah, if you're queasy, I would not watch this movie because it has a lot of body fluids in it and flushing toilets and stuff like that.
Oh, section was awful.
It's pretty grody sometimes. So if that stuff kind of turns your stomach, I wouldn't recommend this. But it has some interesting things going on, and it's pretty wild. So yeah, I'd recommend it.
Do you think it compares to like a Lifetime movie? I mean, not in its production, but like, I don't know.
In some of the way that they showcase some things, and some things are a bit over the top.
Yeah.
But...
All right, Rebecca?
I think I'm going to recommend it too. It's definitely a wild ride. Like, don't go in expecting anything because it's going to be beyond what you expect. But it'll keep you entertained.
Yeah, I was entertained. I don't know if this is a good movie. There's definitely good elements to it, though, and it was entertaining. So that's what you watch a movie for. So yeah. But I don't know if I would have been as entertained if I knew more of the premise. I don't know about that because I didn't know where the movie was going.
Yeah. But they really are leading you down like some supernatural thing, and then it's just like, nope. Nope.
Kidding.
Nope. All right, let's move on. Let's play a game. Here we go.
Game time, baby.
Your theories are the worst kind of complete, right? Your methods are sloppy and your conclusions are highly implicit.
All right. We're going to talk about Brandy.
She's so pretty.
So first up, what year was Brandy born?
1979.
78.
It is 1979.
Ooh.
Why am my face all red? I had one drink. Maybe I'm allergic to alcohol or something now.
Which basketball star did Brandy go to prom with? Kobe Bryant, Shaq, Michael Jordan, or LeBron James?
Kobe.
LeBron James. Yeah, it might be Kobe. LeBron James. I'll go with LeBron.
It is Kobe. There they are. Brandy is first cousins with what rapper? Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, or Ice-T?
Snoop Dogg.
Ice-T.
It is Snoop OOG. How many albums has Brandy put out?
3.
4?
8 of them.
Damn!
Get the shit out of here. Did you tell me there's like 80 Brandy songs? I couldn't name one.
So. The Boy Is Mine. I can name that.
That is a good song.
What is Brandy's net worth?
4 million.
2 million?
How much did you say, Chris?
4.
It's 11 million.
Oh, damn, nice.
All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Good for her.
What diva did Brandy take the place of as Cinderella? Was it Toni Braxton, Whitney Houston, Janet Jackson, or Mary J. Blige?
Toni Braxton.
Yeah, because Whitney Houston was the fairy godmother, right?
It was supposed to be Whitney, but
Oh.
she bumped out. And Brandy was also one of the last people to see Whitney Houston before she died.
Really?
Yeah. So maybe there's another skeleton in her closet. I did not include in there Ray J and his sex tape. Isn't
Brandy?
that with... No, Ray J is Brandy's younger brother.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I
forgot
he
they
had
were
a
related.
sex tape with
Kim Kardashian.
Kim Kardashian.
Launched her career.
Yeah.
Great career.
Some people's kids.
Well, I feel like I know a little bit more about Brandy, but still I don't really know anything about Brandy. But I recognize her. And that's something. I mean, if you say
she
Brandy,
had her
everyone
own
knows who you're
show
talking
when she was a teenager. She was on Moesha.
I was going to say, was it Moesha? I remember that
Yeah.
show. Okay. All right. Well, let's do listener feedback.
I suggest we read some listener feedback, sir.
Make it so, number one.
Emails. You tiny little emails. You precious little emails. Where are you?
All right. I guess I'm doing it because Smith's not here. Last week, or a little bit more than a week ago, we watched Lionheart, which was Lindsay's birthday pick. Because, of course, it was, because it has Jean-Claude Van Damme in it. David Black says, glad you're back. I definitely missed the show. A classy alternate title for Lionheart is, of course, Lion Fart. Very good, Deva.
It wasn't my pick. I don't think it was my pick. I thought it was Spiv's birthday pick. Yeah. My birthday ain't till May.
What? Spiv picked this? All right.
Yeah.
Bad Mr. Frosty says, I remember this being wrong bet in Australia and loving it. I started listening to you guys a little over a year ago and have finished all the pods from Nemesis to Lionheart.
Oh, shit.
And now I'm bummed that I have to wait for new episodes. Love everyone's takes on bad movies, except for Spiv on Salute of the Juggers, and look forward to new episodes. Yeah, that was a good movie. I don't know why Spiv didn't like that movie.
Welcome.
Thanks for listening to them all. That's crazy. The Nightbinder says, interesting film choice you made here. Lionheart is one of my top favorite martial art movies from the 1990s. Some of your new horror movie reviews leave a lot to be desired. I don't know what that means. What were the filmmakers thinking of? How I Miss Your Creepshow TV episode review podcast. Have we reviewed new horror movies? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Jeffrey Long says, any updates on when you guys might be back? Missing my weekly dose of bad movies. We are back. Black Donner says, one Van Damme movie from the late 90s is Maximum Risk is pretty good. You seen that one?
Yep. It's all right.
Oh, shit. She just says it's all right. She doesn't even think it's pretty good.
I am a Van Damme purist. I like late 80s, early
snob.
90s.
Yeah. James Green says, so was Hard Target when Van Damme was a hobo in the fight arena? I don't remember. Lindsay, what is Hard Target? Is he a hobo?
Hard Target is an amazing Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. It's also the first American John Woo movie. And Lance Henriksen's it's an amazing film. We should watch it on the pod.
I'm trying to.
I don't know what that sentence means, though.
So was Hard Target when Van Damme was a hobo in a fight arena? Also, another role Van Damme good at being a street fighting hobo over a can of beans. What?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Jay Money says, bad movie, my ass, literally one of his best in hell, Van Damme.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is the name of the show. I think pretty much everyone loved that movie. I didn't watch it.
It's great.
Yeah, when we do the birthday episodes, you can pick whatever you want, so it doesn't have to be bad. And actually, we don't really care. We just pick whatever we want anyways. So,
yeah.
And then we decide if it's bad.
Yeah, there you go. And so that's it for listener feedback. You can leave a comment on the YouTubes, and we will talk about it on next week's show. I picked a movie out for next week, and I don't care what anyone says. I picked it out, and I don't give a shit. We're going to watch it.
What is it?
And you guys are going to be like, well, why do we watch this? Well, I don't care. Watch the movie. It's called Battle Dogs. And it sounded cool, so let's check it out.
Mr. President, this virus could wipe out the entire human race.
Oh, Little Duke.
Connection to the wolf host.
Yeah.
Could ensure our national security.
Ernie freaking Hudson.
West Studi. Oh my God.
Let's
oh
see
man.
what these things can do.
Stay down! There won't be a country to protect!
Eradication is your only option.
All right, I'm stopping it. This looks
There's
badass.
so many people in this
I know.
movie.
It's an asylum movie, but I don't care. It looks cool. Battle Dogs. It's available pretty much anywhere you want to. I think it's on YouTube. It's on Tubi. When a werewolf virus threatens to decimate New York City and the world, a rogue general uses the disease to create an army of super soldiers.
Nice. Sounds amazing.
It sounds fun. Okay. And then we'll get back to the Patreon wheel at some point here. We'll see who shows up next week. But all right, we've made it through one episode. We worked out a little of the kinks. You know, it's hard to come back, but we're back. And onwards and upwards, right?
Hell yeah.
Here we go.
So next week, we're checking out Battle Dogs. I think it's from 2011.
Battle Dogs.
And we're going to get into some werewolf action. Well,
Nice.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching the show. If you did, like and subscribe to all that crap. Leave a review on iTunes. That helps out the show. And if you want to join the Patreon for the pre-show, patreon.com/badmovienightshow. All right, guys. We will see you here next week when we watch Battle Dogs. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Bad Movie Night Podcast.
Bad Movie